Nicholas, you've done some work on identifying what these criminal offences could be. Tell us what options are open to police, prosecutors, and courts.
The first option, which is the one that has been taken in relation to people who have been sentenced today, which we'll be talking about in a moment, is the offence which was created by the Public Order Act 1986 of violent disorder. The violent disorder is proved where three or more persons who are present together use or threaten unlawful violence, and the conduct of them is such that it would cause a person of reasonable firmness at the scene to fear for his personal safety. And that's the definition of violent disorder. And if that is proved, then the maximum sentence is 5 years. Now, that is the one that has been chosen. What has not been chosen, even though I think that to everybody who's been looking at these dreadful scenes, it's the one that is obviously taking place, is the offence of riot, which is also a new offence because the old common law offence was abolished by the Public Order Act and a new offence of riot was invented. And that is exactly the same as violent disorder, except that it has to have at least 12 people involved, not 3. And where riot is proved, that is the maximum sentence is 10 years, not 5 years. Now, you, Charlie, and you, Helena, because Helena's an experienced criminal lawyer. I wasn't. Charlie, you were a politician. You may be able to explain why it is that we have this sort of mini riot called violent disorder. And then we also might like to discuss why it is that these people who have been arrested have been charged with the lesser offence of violent disorder in circumstances where they have been part of a group of at least 12, in fact, in some instances, dozens of people. So those are the first two offences, but then there are other very serious offences which have been committed, and they are as follows. Firstly, there has been criminal damage. Now, under the Criminal Law Act, I think it's 1971, the Criminal Law Act 1971, criminal damage, where proved, carries a maximum sentence of 10 years. However, if criminal damage is done with the intention of endangering life or being reckless as to whether life is endangered, then the maximum sentence, if that is proved, is life. And if criminal damage is done in any circumstances, whatever the intent, with fire, it is to be charged as arson, and that carries life. And if the damage in question doesn't have to be to a dwelling, it could be to a police van. And indeed, one of the people who was sentenced today was convicted of arson. He certainly wasn't given life, but there is this cap of 5 years for violent disorder doesn't apply. And then there is a further criminal damage offence, which is racially aggravated criminal damage, which was introduced by the Crime and Disorder Act, and that carries a maximum sentence of 14 years. So in relation to these people who have been on the streets committing these offences, there are a range of offences with which they can be charged, and it does seem to me that the offences which they've been charged with in the first instance have violent disorder has been at the bottom of the available range. There are also then, in relation to those who I've described as keyboard warriors, they're the ones who don't come out on the streets, they don't throw stones, but they're behind their computer screens using their keyboards to incite people to go out and commit these offences. And they, I think, can be charged with conspiracy to commit any of the above offences, the active offences. A conspiracy is an unlawful agreement to commit an offence. And if they are, in fact, trying to get an agreement between a group of people to commit these offences, they can be charged with conspiracy. And then there are independent offences relating to racial hatred in Part 3 of the Public Order Act, which include publishing or distributing written material with the intention of stirring up racial hatred. Those offences need the consent of the Attorney General to be prosecuted, but if they're proved, they carry a sentence of 7 years. And then there's finally, but Charlie, you'll be able to explain more of this, there is the possibility of charging people with terrorist offences. I personally think that the yobbos, the thugs who are out in the streets could not conceivably be charged with terrorist offences, but the keyboard warriors who are inciting them to behave like this arguably could. But I'll leave that with you, Charlie. Okay, so that's my little survey of what the crimes are available.